Dear Satish, thank you so much for making time to me. You cannot imagine how pleased I am. You are here for just a few days, 10 days more or less, coming for Change Now, this big gathering of change makers coming from all over the world. I have a kind of an intimate question to begin with. I would love to know what you did this morning and what is a morning like? Because I'm sure you also have make sure to make some room for meditation every day. And I know you make room for poetry
Yes.
every day.
Yes. So this morning, I read a poetry by a Chinese poet called Li Bai. And this is a very beautiful poetry, nature poetry, but also spiritual poetry. And this is one page in Chinese and the other page translation. So every day, I try to start my day with reading poetry, because I think poetry can save the world. And poetry is a kind of product of imagination and creativity. Spiritual poetry or nature poetry or even political poetry is much more interesting and much more kind of transcendental and imaginative than the kind of more or less everyday media, which is very critical and very superficial. So I don't read newspapers. I read poetry.
It's also a way, I presume, to make space for yourself and to reconnect with yourself and with you mentioned making peace with the world and the living. Poetry brings you to that space where you envision the beauty of the world.
Yeah. I mean, in India, we had a great poet called Rabindranath Tagore, and I read his poetry all the time. And then in Persia, you have poets called Hafiz, and in the Middle East, Rumi in Turkey. And I went to Rumi's place in Konya and paid my tribute to Rumi. And then William Blake in England and Shakespeare and many great poets around the world. I think they are the kind of inspiration and they are kind of saviors of our soul. So without poetry, the world will be a very poor place. So for me, poetry will save the world.
Satish, I have read your book, Tu es donc je suis. I could translate that by you are, therefore I am. I've read it with a lot of passion, and at the very beginning, you come back to two words that comes back again and again in the daily meditation, the homme and the shanti.
Yeah.
We know the word, but we don't know the meaning. And I felt that having you explain the meaning was so important for us because it's like the basis of everything. So I would like to begin, before we get to your own journey, I would like to hear you come back to the explanation of those two words.
The Om word means totality, wholeness, completeness, and relatedness. They are all in one word. And Om is the root of Amen, or omnipresent, omniscient. And so this is a kind of mantra that we always chant. So what we basically say through this Om mantra, that we are all related. We are all interdependent. Nothing can exist by itself, not even a particle, not even an electron or proton or atom can exist by itself. Everything exists only when they come together in relationship. A lot of our modern thinking has become very individualistic and antagonistic. And we think that we are separate. And we divide the world in the name of religion, in the name of nationality, in the name of political systems. We are all humans, and we are all nature. We are made of earth, air, fire, water. We are all conscious. Consciousness is the kind of final element. And nature is also conscious. Trees and mountains and forests and rivers and animals are all conscious beings, living beings. And so Om represents that interrelatedness, interconnectedness. You are, therefore I am. I cannot exist without you. So that's the Om.
Yes.
And the Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We say three times. So in that relationship of love, kindness, compassion, I am at peace within myself. Shanti means peace. So first time you say Shanti, I have to make peace with myself. I am at peace. I am potentially what I need to be. I have everything. I have thinking, I have imagination, I have a spirit, I have a soul. I can write poetry, I can dance, I can grow food, I can build a house, I have 2 hands, I can walk around the world with my 2 legs. So that feeling of yourself as Om, as complete, as a full human being, and your happiness and your joy and your imagination and everything depends on you. Your happiness does not depend on somebody else. So that's a kind of Om Shanti, peace. And then you have to make peace with everybody because everybody is a human. And the third piece is that we are also nature. At the moment we think that nature is below us, nature is inanimate, nature is only a resource for making money, making products. A living tree has no value, only a dead tree, when we cut it down and make it into wood, then it has a value. So that's a kind of war with nature. And so third Shanti is to make peace with nature and see that nature is a living being and we are all nature. We are all made of earth, air, fire, water, and we are all conscious. So that's a kind of peace. So Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. It's a very fundamental mantra of India.
I felt it was very useful to begin with that because it's going to infuse all our discussion. Interconnectedness, peace with yourself. We should stop being our own enemy. Peace with the others, peace with the living. That's the very basis of your life, your philosophy, and the transformation in the world that you aspire to. Let's talk now about you and your journey. At 9, you and your mother decided that you should become a monk. A Jain monk. I would love to spend a few minutes on that decision that is so fundamental because you're going to stay for 10 years about.
When I was 4 years old, my father died. And I saw him lying in state, my mother crying, my sisters crying, my brothers crying, and my father not moving. So I said to my mother, why are you crying and why father is not moving? And so my mother said, your father is dead. He will never speak again. He will never walk again. We will never see him again. I said, what is death? Then my mother said, everybody dies. We are born, we die. So mother, will you also die? Yes, I will die. And then I'll never see you again? Yes, you'll never see me again. I was shocked. Then he said, mother, will I die? Yes, you also die. And then nobody will see me again? Yes, nobody will see you again. So that sowed the seeds of kind of unhappiness or discontentment or worry. In a kind of way, I started to say, is there a way to stop people dying so that people don't have to cry and they don't have to go away and then you don't meet them? So that was a kind of idea came from the death of my father. When I was about 8 years old, I met a Jain guru who was the guru of my mother. And my mother took me to see him. And so I found a moment when he was sitting alone, and I went into his room and I asked him, Guru, my father died. My mother is very sad. I'm without my father. Is there a way to stop people dying? And my guru said that yes, there is. You have renounced the world and then you don't come back in the world. You become free, liberated. That's a kind of Jain idea that if you are pure and you shed your old karmas, then you go in a kind of state of enlightenment in this life, and then after death, you don't come back. So that idea attracted me. And so I went to my mother and said, I'm going to become a monk. And my mother actually didn't encourage me at first. She said, oh, you are too young. You don't understand what being monk is and so on. But then I kept insisting day after day after day. I said, my mother, I'm going to become a monk. And then my mother saw that my guru is a very good person. He's more like a father. He will look after me. And so she, in the end, gave me her blessing. And then I became a monk at age 9. So that's the story of how I became a monk.
But you were so little. How was it to go from the life of a free secular boy to becoming a monk at such a young age?
It was a big discipline, because as a monk you walk bare feet. As a monk, you don't live in one place, but you are walking all the time. If you come to a village, you stay for 2 or 3 days, and then you move on, and you beg for your food, and you live a very simple life and very restrained life. And most of your time you spend on study of spiritual texts and meditation, and maybe conversing with people about spiritual matters. So for 9 years, I studied Jain philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, Sanskrit language, Indian philosophy, and then I was preaching and teaching people as well, talking about religion and spirituality and non-violence and love and kindness and compassion and generosity. All these values I sort of embraced. So for 9 years, I practiced that.
You mentioned non-violence, and as some of us might know, in the Jain order, non-violence is really a very important guidelines. Can you explain us how you what it meant for you as a monk back in
So
the time?
non-violence is the supreme principle of Jain religion.
Yes.
So you do not commit violence at any level as much as possible. Even a mosquito you are not allowed to kill. Even you are not allowed to walk on a grass. You have to walk where there is no grass. So you are prepared to die. You are prepared to be killed. But in no circumstances you can kill somebody else. And there is a slight difference between the Hindu tradition and the Jain and Buddhist tradition. Although the founder of Jain came from a warrior caste, and a founder of Buddhism, the Buddha, also came from the warrior caste. But they both renounced the war. And they said, war is no solution. Violence is no solution. We have to all love and live and accept and tolerance for everybody. The action is the kind of outcome of our thoughts and our words. Therefore, non-violence begins in your consciousness. Non-violence begins in your mind and in your heart. So non-violent thoughts and then non-violent words, loving words. So a word should come from your mouth which hurts or harms or upsets or offends no one. In our Jain tradition, I was taught to think only good thoughts and kind thoughts, that are beautiful thoughts, and speak only beautiful words which will be music to the listeners, and it will warm the heart of the listener. And so only speak beautiful words, and then do whatever you can do to help others, to serve others. You can have different ideas. You can have different philosophy. You can have different kind of arguments of anything, but still you can love. Friendship and loving does not mean that you have to agree with somebody. But love should be, even if you don't agree with somebody, even if you don't like somebody, still you practice non-violence and you practice love.
And as you just mentioned, you practice. It's like a muscle. It's a day-to-day practice, which at some point changes. And in the world we're living now, there is a high need for practicing.
It's a kind of practice, it's a kind of journey. You are always moving towards non-violence. You are always moving towards love, towards compassion. We may never be perfect because we are humans, but you are always attention and your effort and your journey is towards love, towards non-violence. Minimize anger, minimize anxiety, minimize fear, and maximize your love and kindness.
So becoming a monk was a major decision that really actually changed your life, changed the man that you were becoming. Another major decision, the next one, was to stop being a monk. It took a lot of courage to go into the world and to breach the vow that you had. You remember back in
You
the
know,
time how you
non-violence,
came to that decision?
non-violence also needs courage. And non-violence is a quality of the heart. Love is the quality of heart. As a monk, I also was encouraged to be courageous and fearless. But you take the vow of monkhood for life. And once you become a monk in Jain tradition, you are monk for life. You are not allowed to leave. And I read Mahatma Gandhi's autobiography. And then, while I was reading his autobiography, I also had a dream. And Mahatma Gandhi came in my dream. And Mahatma Gandhi said that how many people can become monks? Only a few. But the rest of the world cannot practice monkhood. But spirituality should be for everybody and not just for the monks. And so come out of monastery and practice spirituality in the world. If you love your work and serve other people, and whatever work you are doing, you do with love and for helping others and the service of others and the relationship, then all our actions can become spiritual. So business can be spiritual, farming can be spiritual, politics can be spiritual, everything can be spiritual if you do it for love and not for name, fame, power, prestige, money, profit, all those things. And that dream was so powerful that I could not sort of hold myself back. And I kept thinking that I have to practice spirituality in the world and not escape from the world and not leave the world behind and not think the world is a dirty place, world is a sinful place and I have to escape from the world, but embrace the world. So one night after midnight, when everybody was asleep, I ran away. I escaped from the monastery and I found my way to a Gandhian community. And I lived in the Gandhian community, practicing and trying to practice spirituality in the gardening, in the kind of work, whatever I was doing. And so that was a big change in my life. And I'm very glad that I had a good experience of monkhood and I learned quite a lot of good ideas there. But I'm also glad that I left the monkhood and I came out in the world and now I can be a ordinary person and yet do some extraordinary things.
Yeah, there is a lot of lessons out of this experience. When we think about spirituality today and radical love, which is the title of your last book, some of us can be puzzled on how that can impact the world. So I love to come back to this teaching of Gandhi and the way you embrace it, that is, non-violence is activism and it can change the world. I would love to hear what you have to say on non-violent activism as you envision it back in the time and maybe how it has evolved.
Activism is very important because if you have a hope for the world and you want to transform the world and you want to change the world, then you have to be active. And therefore you also have to be optimist. In order to act, you need to be dispassionate about the results. Action is your prerogative, but don't be too anxious about the results because results are not in your hands. What you will achieve or not achieve, what will be the outcome or not outcome, you cannot control it, but you can control your action. So action in itself has intrinsic value. Do your best as much as you can to serve the world, to love the world, to improve the world, like Buddha, like Mahatma Gandhi, like Mother Teresa, like Martin Luther King, like Jesus Christ, like all the poets, Hafiz, Rumi, Tagore, Shakespeare, William Blake, and many, many other, Lao Tzu, Confucius. All the great people have shown us that activism is the way to improve the world, and we have seen many changes. You can see when I read Simone de Beauvoir's book, when I was 27, 28, at that time the status of women was very poor. That book and many, many women then took that message and acted And that activism has improved the situation. And now the status of women is much better than in the 50s and 60s when Simone de Beauvoir was writing The Second Sex. So I think activism is very important for me. And I would like all of us to do our best to improve, even in your local community. Even if you are growing organic food, that's activism. Even if you are running an organic restaurant and a vegetarian restaurant, that's activism. So activism comes in many, many shapes and many, many forms. But you do something for others, not just for myself. To be an activist, you have to shift from ego to eco. Despair is not going to help, because in despair, what you do, you become hopeless, you become inactive. So things can be improved. Like if your house is on fire, despair is not going to reduce the fire. Even bring a bucket of water to reduce the fire. If everybody brings a bucket of water, you can control the fire. So doing something is necessary. Despair does not lead you to any transformation or any change or any improvement. At the moment, our world is suffering from trust deficit disorder. We don't trust ourselves. We don't trust other people. We don't trust the universe. And therefore, we become in despair. Love is letting go of fear. You have to come out of fear, come out of despair, and trust that your action is going to help. Your action is going to improve. And a small is beautiful. Small actions add up. And therefore, if everybody does something, then it will add up. How did Mahatma Gandhi start the independence of India? How did Martin Luther King start to end racism? Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, they started with boycotting the bus. That was one action. And all the black people stopped traveling in that particular area, in that bus, because it was segregated. And then eventually the buses were desegregated. So small actions like that build up the big movement. Then eventually Martin Luther King called black people to come together and march to Washington. And actually, when Martin Luther King gave his speech, I Have a Dream, that speech I heard when I was in Paris.
Wonderful.
Yes, I was in Paris on my walk around the world, and I heard, what a dream, what a wonderful speech. And from that very moment, I wanted to meet Martin Luther King. So when I arrived in the United States, I wrote to him. I said, I heard your speech. I was so inspired. My dream is to meet you. And so he invited me to his house. And I had a great joy and a pleasure and a privilege of meeting Martin Luther King. So I think if you want to be an activist, you have to cultivate trust, courage and trust. These are the two qualities you need to be a good activist.
You often say that you have to live your life as a pilgrim and not as a tourist. And, I can see as well in the stories that you remind us about with Martin Luther King, that there is very much to say about this sentence on living like a pilgrim. Satish, we discussed your youth as a monk, this major decision to get out of the monastery and to embrace the secular life that we have, but in a very active, radical, as you say, a radical, non-violent, active way. And then at the age of 26, you decided to walk from India to Washington, D.C., and you stopped in Moscow, in Paris, as you just mentioned, and ended up by boat. You first went to London and then ended up in DC. And that was a major action as a nonviolent activist. You walk to visit all the capital of nuclear powers and to address a message of peace.
Yes. The inspiration for this walk came one day when I was with my friend E.P. Menon in a coffee house in Bangalore. And I was waiting for the coffee. And in the meantime, I picked up the newspaper and I read a piece of news that somebody in England called Bertrand Russell has been put in jail because he was protesting against nuclear bombs. So when I read this news, that he's a man, Nobel Prize winner, Lord Bertrand Russell, 90 years old, going to jail for peace in the world to stop the nuclear arms race. Felt myself a kind of little ashamed that a young man, I'm not doing anything, and there is an old man of 90 going to jail for peace in the world. So I said to my friend, can we do something for peace? These nuclear bombs are not good for anybody. And so he said, yes, let's do something. What can we do? So in our discussion, we came up with the idea that let's go to 4 nuclear capitals of the world, as you mentioned. And so we decided to walk. And then we went to see our teacher, a Gandhian teacher called Vinoba Bhave. And he said that wars begin in fear. Peace begins in trust. So if you really want to go for peace in the world, you have to show that you trust yourself and you trust the world. And how do you show that you trust the world? You go without any money in your pocket. So we gave up all the money and we started to walk from New Delhi, from the grave of Mahatma Gandhi, and we went through India and then through Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, the deserts, the mountains, the forests, and in the Soviet Union, the snow-covered. We were in Soviet Union in the winter time. And so during that time, we were in Georgia by the Black Sea, and we met a woman who was working in a tea factory. And she invited us to come and have tea in her factory, in her canteen. And so we went, and as we were drinking tea with her, she had a brainwave. She went out and came back with 4 packets of tea. And she said, I want you to carry these packets of peace tea. I said, why? Why? She said, I want you to give 1 packet of peace tea to our premier in Moscow, in the Kremlin. The 2nd packet of peace tea to the president of France, Charles de Gaulle. And the 3rd packet of tea to 10 Downing Street, the Prime Minister of England. And the 4th packet of tea to the President of the United States of America in the White House. And please give them a message for me. My message to them is that if you ever get a mad thought of pressing the nuclear button, please stop for a moment and have a fresh cup of tea. And invite your opponent to have a tea with you and talk about your disagreement and solve your problem by talking. I carried the packets of peace tea to Moscow and delivered in the Kremlin, and we carried in Paris as well. And I could not meet President de Gaulle, but I gave it to the head of police in Paris, and then we delivered packets of peace tea in 10 Downing Street, and then we delivered packet of peace tea in the White House, and we started our walk for peace from the grave of Mahatma Gandhi, and we ended our walk for peace at the grave of John F. Kennedy, who was, both of them were assassinated, and so symbolically, our journey was from grave to grave, to show that if you believe in violence, believe in the gun, a gun can kill not only a bad person, a criminal, or your enemy, but it can kill a Gandhi, a great non-violent man. Don't believe in the gun, believe in peace. So that was a kind of symbolic journey of 8,000 miles, as you said. And we walked through 15 countries, and we loved everybody. We trust everybody. And through love and trust, we could carry 2.5 years of journey without touching a single penny.
This journey is amazing, Satish. And as you mentioned several times, there is a lot of symbol. Walking, having no money, being forced to connect with people from all over the place. The tea bag, the graves, it's all about symbol. But that's what activism is about as well. And no fear at all, no fear in your heart. And that maybe that's the most surprising aspect for us now.
I mean, fear is only a kind of illusion, a kind of anticipation that something might go wrong, somebody might kill you, or somebody may not help you. It's a fear of something which has not happened. And you don't know that something negative which you are imagining or dreaming or thinking may not be realized, and everything might go very well, very smoothly. So I think fear is a kind of illusion. is unnecessary. So I try to have no fear.
Satish, after this long walk, you decided to settle in the UK. You found love. Is that what made you stay in the UK?
I think, in a way, kind of meeting my wife, June, it's a kind of confluence of two cultures, East and West. I think we should embrace diversity and not turn diversity into division and conflict and wars. And the unity of life, that we are all humans and we are all nature and we are all creatures of this universe, that unity of life should also be complementary to the diversity of life. So diversity and unity dance together, whereas we turn diversity into divisions and conflicts, and we turn unity into uniformity. Unity and diversity go together. So my marriage to June, an English lady, and I from India, is a kind of unity of life and a unity of cultures.
And this is also what makes you so special, because you are really between those two worlds, able to bridge the two cultures and to celebrate what's the best in both of them.
Yes.
And you help us to understand the Eastern culture. You make it approachable for us, because you know Western culture so well. You have raised two wonderful children.
Yes.
And I bet they taught you a lot. You often say that your mother taught you a lot, not by, she was not able to read, but she was so wise and so literate. What is it that was important for you when you raised your children? And what is it that they taught you that no book or no work?
There's a beautiful book by Khalil Gibran called The Prophet.
Yes, absolutely.
And in the book, there's a chapter on children. And I learned from Khalil Gibran that children come through you, not from you. You can give them your love, but not your thoughts. They have their own destiny. So I have tried to let my children grow in their own way. And I try to set an example for myself. And so I'm very happy both of my children are ecologically minded, and I have a grandchild now. She is playing music and piano and cello and very wonderful, and doesn't fly as well, and she's only 16 years old. I think the best thing for the parents is not to worry about your children, because they have their own destiny, as Khalil Gibran says. You can give them your love and support them as much as you can, but let them be who they want to be. They have their own destiny. And so I have tried to practice that, and I'm very happy with my both children and one grandchild. You can't imagine future. So I think let children be and discover themselves.
And Satish, that take us to the work you have been doing in the UK.
Yes.
It's actually directly connected to this discussion, because the first things you have done, or one of the first things, is to open up a school.
Yeah.
Can you let us know, when you open a school, and in connection with what you said about your own experience as a father, what are the principles that you really wanted to see in your school? And that, were not that common in the education in the UK. What are the major differences that were important for
our
you?
modern education in schools, colleges, and universities are very much kind of oriented towards half brain, because we have two hemispheres of brains, left brain and a right brain. In our education, we emphasize the left hemisphere of the brain, which is more administrative, logical, managerial, kind of logical, scientific, etc. How to manage, how to administer, and all that. Practical, pragmatic. The right hemisphere brain is more intuitive, imaginative, creative, spiritual, poetic, relational. And our schools don't do anything for the right hemisphere. And then also our education and our schools don't teach how to cultivate your heart qualities, courage, compassion, kindness, relationship. And then they don't encourage anything to do with your hands. Our school don't teach children how to build a house or how to grow food or how to make furniture or how to make clothes or how to do things with your hand, how to be a potter. That's just left brain education only. So we spend billions and billions and billions of euros and pounds and dollars and all kinds of money just to train half brain. So I started the small school in Heartland to educate our children, my two children, but also children of Heartland, to educate the head, education of head, education of heart, education of hands, education of whole body. So in our small school, we had a school, our children will cook food. And we said every day, fresh food must be cooked by children and teachers together. So you learn how to cook. Then we had a garden. And so there was an education of hands also. So in the garden, children will grow vegetables and they will grow flowers, they will grow fruit. And then also every day we will have meditation in the school. We will have music, we will have a dance, we will have poetry. So right hemisphere of the brain is cultivated through heart and through relationship and through poetry. And then, of course, we also taught history, geography, mathematics, and all the kind of subjects which you teach in school to pass the exams. And then that led to same principle to start a Schumacher College.
Except that it's not for the same people. Schumacher College is
It's
for
more
adults.
yeah. Well, yeah.
But the same principle
Yeah.
apply.
Yeah. Particularly in Schumacher College, we emphasize two ideas. Education of head, heart, and hands, of course. But with that, we said ecology and spirituality. Our education at Schumacher College is that we must relate to natural world and make sure that our economy is not as linear economy, that you take something from nature, use it, make products, throw it away. A lot of waste, a lot of pollution. And what do you do with all the material you produce? You put on the dump or waste and a kind of waste heaps, landfills. So we said our economy that we are teaching at Schumacher College should be a cyclical economy. So nature is our teacher, and nature has cyclical economy. So you plant a seed in the ground, that seed becomes a tree. Tree has branches, flowers, fruit, and in the fruit there's a seed. And then you can start again planting that seed. And no waste. All the leaves fall in the autumn, become soil again. And so soil nourishes the tree. So in the forest, there are no waste bins. Nature does not create landfills. And so we at Schumacher College said the ecology should be very important for us. Then also we said spiritual values. Because ecology is kind of outer transformation and spirituality is a kind of inner transformation. So outer transformation and inner transformation should go hand in hand together. So we are always emphasizing in our education, like at the small school, also in Schumacher College, meditation, relationship, compassion, kindness, courage, very important, courage, and trust. And so these qualities also can be learned. We can learn to love. We can learn to trust. And so we said at Schumacher College that ecology and spirituality must be central, and education of head, education of heart, education of hands must be central, and that's at Schumacher College.
So people come and join you for a period of time.
Yes.
It could be a couple of weeks, or it could be a long period of time.
It can be 1 year.
It could be 1 year.
Yeah.
And, from what I heard from people who had this privilege to going to the Schumacher College, it's a very transforming experience.
Yeah.
It's everything that you learn, but it's everything that you practice, as you say, that really take you to an inner journey.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about the major milestone in that school, how you twisted it, and where what's going on now?
So now we are in the process of creating a new campus and a new home. But in the meantime, we are some hiring places to run our courses. So our courses are still continuing to go and happen. But we are also trying to buy a new place, and fundraising is in process at this moment. And so anybody of your listeners want to support or help Schumacher College, you'll be very welcome.
I'll make sure that we have a link in the note of the episode that anyone can connect to.
Yeah.
And we can learn more about the Schumachers. They can register or they can support. Because as you mentioned,
there's
it's
also
fundraising
Satish
now.
Kumar Foundation, which is raising funds to support Schumacher College.
When are you due to open this new place?
We are hoping to open by May or June this year. So
This
we
is
are
coming.
very much hoping that
So
the
stay
funds can be
tuned.
raised very quickly. Yeah.
Stay tuned, this is coming.
Yeah.
Amazing. I hope I have a chance to come and
Yes,
visit
yes.
you. And
You will be very welcome.
And experience myself.
Yeah.
Maybe a few last questions because I want to be cautious of your time. What is it that you want to do to have your messages?
So, as
spread
I
all around
already
the world?
said, that I am an activist, and my activism is in the service of the planet Earth, in the service of humanity. So whatever time I have left in my life, I want to remain active. I want to serve the world up to the last breath of my life, because we are here for relationship, for love, for serving each other, helping each other. So I have no other desire than to offer myself and my time to serve and help others. That's only. So up to the last breath of my life, I want to remain an activist.
Thank you, Satish. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
We need you. Two last questions.
Yeah, okay.
One on, I always ask my guests, which book would you recommend us to read?
There is a very interesting book by one of our teachers at Schumacher College called Ian McGilchrist. And he has a book called The Master and His Emissary.
Okay.
And that's about left hemisphere of the brain and the right hemisphere of the brain.
Thank
And then, of
you.
course, our master and our mentor was E.F. Schumacher. And his book is Small is Beautiful. And I think that is translated to many, many languages. So Small is Beautiful is another very great book that everybody should read.
Absolutely. And I know he has been so inspiring for all you have done in your life. Last question, Satish. Who is it that should be taking over at Demain N'attend Pas, in this podcast? Who do you think should be talking after you? That is both very inspiring and very active in terms of making the world a better place.
Ian McGilchrist will be a very good person to interview for your podcast.
When I come and get trained at the Schumacher, that would be a good opportunity.
Yes.
Satish, thank you so much. I think there is so much in the discussion we have had.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming back to your own journey, and more than anything for all the living principles that you go for, and that are teaching us so much. Thank
My
you very
pleasure.
much
It's
from the
been a
bottom
great
of my
pleasure
heart.
to speak with you, and thank you for your interest in my ideas and my work. And my ideas, my work is not my ideas. I have learned from Mahatma Gandhi, from Martin Luther King, from Mother Teresa, from the Buddha, from Shakespeare, from Tagore, from many, many great teachers, Lao Tzu, and so on. So I am carrying the great tradition of old masters.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure.